And we can continue to work our model from this point forward. Now let's take a look at working this brow section up here at the top. Smooth that out. Smooth that out. And one of the problems I'm going to have with just these tools that I've introduced you to is I'm going to have to use a very small draw size. Then I'm going to have to press Shift and smooth things out, and then add volume to both sides to try to get this tight compressed wrinkle here. And it's going to be difficult. So let me introduce you to a few other tools that will make that process a little bit easier. One of them is the pinch brush. So if we go to the brush palette here, and then since it's alphabetical, we go to pinch right here. We can turn frame on to show you what it's doing, but lower our draw size, and let's just show you right up here. See how it pulls all of the polygons together? If I turn frame off, you can see it creates a really crisp line right there. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to do that here. But what I really want this to do is I really want this to push inwards. So I want to pinch and then also push inwards. So let's introduce ourselves to one important aspect of the brush palette, and that is brush mod. So let's increase that from 20 to 100, see what that does. And see how as I build surface, as I pinch, it actually pushes the surface up. Now if I set brush mod to a -100, it's going to push in. So the brush mod slider, let's send it over to the tray. We're going to drag it over here to the left. The brush mod slider is acting as though it's an elevation. If it's at 100, it'll push out. If it's at a -100, it'll push in. So let's undo that on the model. And I'm going to actually set it to 100, but press Alt. And that way it's going to push in. And that can give me some nice compression and help me really kind of get nice crisp hard edges. If I'm doing a toony kind of character, let's just start to suggest this upper eyelid in there a little bit better. Again, I am always smoothing, even if I have to redraw the strokes. Spending some time to really turn that in. And the nasolabial fold is where it's going to be very useful as well. So let's smooth that out. And push that in. Now this is pretty useful and it's pretty cool, but I actually like to use it a slight bit differently, and that is in combination with the standard brush. So let's go back to the standard brush. And the standard brush uses the brush mod slider in a really cool way too. By default it's set to 0, which means that as you sculpt, it just has normal standard brush behavior. Now if I set this to 100, then as I sculpt, it's going to pinch all of that geometry in. So let's set that a little bit lower. See how it's pinching? It's pulling the geometry in, and that helps create a really refined edge right there. It's better than if this pinch was used just by itself. Now, set it to negative, and it actually will use what's called the magnify brush, which we will get into. But the magnify brush has a tendency to mushroom out the surface. Great for building up mass and muscles. So I'm going to set this to, let's say, positive 30. And let's give ourselves some more sculpting room. And start to use this as kind of a knife tool. It's really good for getting in and just really creating some strong planes to our sculpt. Now, these lips really need more geometry to get better refined form. Just notice how I use it to really create shapes too. So I'm pressing in. Okay. Really helps me distinguish one shape from another shape. Don't want to do anything else with that along these lines. Smooth that out. Try to get the shape of an eyeball in there. I'll spend more time on that later on.